Welcome back and moving on to our first segment for today, talking more about the Kuwaiti-Egyptian relations. And of course, talking also about the recent summit that took place between both sides and more about the means of cooperation and stances of both countries. Over the phone, we have Ambassador Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So first of all, I'd love to shed the light on the significance of this summit gathering, of course, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Kuwaiti Sheikh.
Yes, of course, this is a very important summit because the strong relationship between Egypt and the Kuwait is historic, and for a long time, the two countries have the same vision, same orientation, trying to establish stability, peace, and development in among the two countries and in the entire area, of course, and dealing with these conflicts in the area, try to settle these conflicts.
Well, talking about cooperation between Kuwait and Egypt, and of course it is deeply rooted, and of course many files were tackled, especially if we're talking about the challenges that we are facing right now, especially in the Middle East in general, because actually we are facing challenges on all domains.
Yes, of course, the two leaders discussed all the challenges facing the entire area. They talked about what is happening in Libya, what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Gaza, and they called for settling all these conflicts and exerting all possible avenues to establish some kind of atmosphere that would be conducive to establishing peace and stability.
So, how far do you see the importance of the role Egypt is playing when it comes to the current situation in Gaza? And of course, we have many efforts exerted to reach this ceasefire we are talking about that could take some days, in addition, of course, to giving more chance to entering more humanitarian aid, in addition to the exchange of hostages as well.
Yes, Egypt has been exerting a great deal of effort since the eruption of this terrible situation that really led to 35,000 people from the Palestinian part killed, and all this turmoil that we have already witnessed, and the whole world that has already witnessed. But Egypt is adopting strategic patience and strategic orientation for dismantling the elements of the conflict so as to come to a ceasefire and eventually, of course, to come to a two-state solution and solving the root of the whole problem, which is a Palestinian cause that needs to be addressed by the entire world to get it done, to get it solved, because the continuation of this cause and the atrocities and the injustice associated with it, yes, of course, leave a bitter feeling, and the conflicts erupt from one time to another. So we have, as a world, as in Egypt, as a world community, to come up with a radical solution that would establish peace for all.
Well, this meeting between President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and also Sheikh Mishal al-Ahmad al-Jaber al-Sabah show how deeply the relation is between Kuwait and Egypt. Well, even according to figures, we can say we have an indication of this important relations between both countries according to facts and figures when it comes to the amount of investments, the Kuwaiti investments taking place here in Egypt.
Yes, the Kuwaiti investments in Egypt is third in rank. I mean, they are about $20 billion, which is very good. And the two countries are keen to further expand this exchange and also Egyptian businessmen investing in Kuwait. And there are very important joint committees and many agreements along the years that were signed. And we have something like the Egyptian Kuwaiti Forum. And the portfolio of investments is manifested into several spheres and fields of cooperation.
Well, what are the, or in other words, talking about the competitive advantage that both countries can have and exchange? I mean, how can they work together, each country to be just, again, whenever we talk about politics, we all know and understand that political issues are moving parallel to economic issues. And of course, it is a win-win policy. So we have different means of cooperations where both countries need to focus on.
Yes, as you have already mentioned, when it comes to political sphere, the two countries are keen, and the two leaders in this particular visit discussed in detail the situation in Libya, the situation in Sudan, and the situation in Gaza, of course, because that is the most important now. It's more imminent than any other conflict to be settled for now. But all conflicts needs to be addressed in a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. And especially the two leaders are discussing all these issues when there is an Arab summit to be convened in May, this month, I mean. So I think that the avenues for cooperation when it comes to political stuff, yes. When it comes to economic sphere, of course, there are so many, as I've already mentioned, something about the Egyptian Kuwaiti Forum. You can see from the manifestation of activities that the cooperation is taking place in a very fine way. You know, the forum discussed lately things about fertilizers and petrochemicals, gas distribution, power generation, insurance, and the non-banking services. So this will tell you about the scope of diversification of the kind of cooperation between the two countries.
So from your own point of view, how can the government provide or encourage Egyptians in Kuwait to work more on having or putting some more investments in developmental projects?
Actually, when it comes to Egypt, there are investment laws being launched that would facilitate the job of any investor and encouraging investors to come to Egypt. And of course, the Egyptian market is so promising, it's so vast, and Egypt enjoys stability and security, and hopefully this would all lead to much more investment, inshallah.
But just I know we were talking about investments, the Kuwaiti investments here in Egypt. But when it comes to gas and oil, if we can just highlight or focus more in this part in more details, please.
Actually, the issue of energy is important for every country, especially when it comes to the current situation of the world and in the future perspective. So when it comes to oil and gas, of course, everything, as you know, relies on energy. So energy is needed on both sides, and Kuwait is well known for producing a great amount of oil, and of course the cooperation that I've told you about between even Egyptian companies and Kuwaiti companies are dealing with this issue in particular.
Well, usually after such meetings between two top leaders, of course, afterwards, we have to focus on what is coming next. I mean, they are paving the way for more investments and more projects to take place. So what is after the summit? I mean, what are the steps or measures to be adopted to start immediately working and taking benefit of the summit?
Of course, when it comes to the summit in particular, the Arab system and the Arab countries should provide themselves with much more deeper cooperation, because the challenges they are facing is so huge. And, whether that comes to Gaza situation or even after Gaza situation, the whole world have certain arrangements in Sudan, in Libya, in Africa, in Palestine. So the Arab Summit should be ready, and the Arab leaders really are trying to cooperate deeply to come up with some good recommendations and operationalization of what they came up with.
And also talking about the youth, of course, because when we talk about new developments or projects, of course, we are providing more job opportunities and bringing the new generation of both countries together as well. I think this is very, very important.
Yes, when it comes to the current and the new generations, let us remember that most of the Egyptians, they're really having good cooperation. We have 700,000 Egyptians working in Kuwait, and we have also thousands of Kuwaiti students in our universities, and we have also tens of thousands of tourists who come to Egypt. So I think this needs to be encouraged and consolidated.
Right. Ambassador Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science, thank you very much for joining us. Right, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back.